Everybody. I hope you are all well. Thank you for joining us today for another Tech Tribe Community Masterclass. As always, my name is Tarisiro and I will be your host this morning. And today we've got a very special guest, someone that many of you may know from the summit. And this is KK Diaz, the Chief Strategist at A-Game Business Consulting. And at the summit, he took us through the 8 steps of digital marketing success. And we wanted to build on that and go dive a little bit deeper on how we can then implement a transformative digital marketing strategy that can then 10 times our sales and revenues. So this is for you, our entrepreneurs, our startup founders, to help you, strategize your digital marketing, build your business specific toolkit so you can develop those strategies specific for your business so that you can grow and expand and increase your revenues. So I will not take any more of your time and hand over to KK shortly. I would like to say you are welcome to post into the chat. You can let us know who you are, where you're joining us from, and also any questions that you have for KK throughout the session, you can also post them into the chat. Please forgive us, there was a bit of a scheduling error on our part. The session is an hour and a half long, but if you do have to drop off at 12 o'clock, that is okay. The last half hour of the session will really just be focusing on the toolkits that if you received the link and the reminders over the last 2 days, you would have seen a link to complete the digital marketing report. And if you've gone, so you can download your toolkit, and if you've done that, and you can maybe go through it during the session as we go along. So we discuss that and go a bit deeper towards the end of the session. And as always, the recording will be shared with you, and we'll ask KK if he is willing to also share the presentation as well with the attendees. So I, again, will not take any more of your time. I'll hand over to KK. KK, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're looking forward to your session.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Tari. Thank you to the Tech Tribe team. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's always great to work with you guys. I really appreciate it. So yeah, just based on the toolkit matter, it's more of a digital marketing performance report that you will get a link to generate a report that actually gives you a status of how well or not so well your business is doing online. That's courtesy of A-Game Business and Tech Tribe. So Tari, maybe for those who didn't receive it, do you want to maybe include it now in the link? Please don't get distracted and go into the report now, because we don't want you to miss out on the information that I'm going to be sharing with you. And I also would like to welcome my team. I've got Dylan Miller, who's part of our team, one of our senior marketing strategists, and I'm expecting a few more of our team members. I know Ntabi's also just logged in. Mutabi is also here. I believe Masejo is also joining us. Sorry, I can't see the entire list, but thanks to the team for joining in. With all of that said, I'm going to jump straight into the session. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share the screen. Please just let me know if you can see it. All right, it says participants can now see your screen. I'm hoping that is the case.
Yes, it is true. We can see it.
All right, wonderful. I'm just gonna put it in presenter mode. There we go. All right, so for those who've seen the presentation before, at least part of it, okay, because we've updated it, we've integrated components of digital marketing, how to build a strategy, and how to use those 8 steps that you've seen before to kind of build a sustainable, a tactical foundation, really, that's going to help you to plug in all the different areas of your digital marketing into play. So if you've seen it before, trust me, you can never see this enough, okay? Because every time you see it, you get new ideas, and you'll be in a position to actually get new ideas and see how else, whatever you learn, you grow, and you'll see how else you can actually improve on your digital marketing. So maybe let's do a quick check-in. If you've seen the 8-step inbound marketing success steps, please just maybe say yes or no. If you haven't seen it, maybe also say no. just so I can feel good about not having to repeat myself, at least not to majority of the people. So those who've seen it, okay, Morena says no. All right, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. This gives me an idea in terms of the extent of detail that I need to cover, especially the background, which I'm more than happy to do. You know, it's always fun to talk about these. So thanks everyone, Tendai, Maximilian, Nemlab. I really appreciate your feedback, much appreciated. All right, I'm going to switch off my video just to not distract you as I present, and also just so I can stay focused and not be too conscious, if you know what I mean. All right. So thanks again to everyone. And for those who don't know who I am, I'm the CEO of A Game Business. And I've written a couple of books, half of them really focus on digital transformation and digital marketing, and also on how to start and grow a business using this methodology that we call the A Game Business Blueprint methodology. I can hear a few people. Maybe if we can just ask people to please mute themselves, and then they'll obviously be able to unmute themselves when they need to ask questions. And with that said, so our business really has a 360-degree approach to everything we do, right? We don't just do digital marketing. We do business strategy, meaning we help companies to really formulate their business models, their value proposition statements, which is very important in any business, especially in today's day and age when there's so much competition out there. So the clarity around that is very important. And obviously the digital marketing that helps to execute that strategy to help you get clients. And I always say this to businesses, regardless of size, is whenever there's a new strategy, in almost all cases, people need to be developed and trained in order to be able to have the skills that are required to help you execute that strategy. And then you obviously need to equip them from a tools perspective, from a technology perspective, and systems. And we are fortunate enough to have skills in-house that are able to help our clients with that. And in cases where we don't have the skills in-house, we have a large network of business partners that we work with, you know, including people like Dylan Miller, who's made time to be here today. Thanks again, Dylan. And the clients that we work with range across the spectrum. You know, you're talking about oil and gas companies, you're talking about fintech businesses, legal firms, colleges and educational institutions, car washes, you know, Workshop 17, some of you may be familiar with. These are all SME development or agencies that work within the gambit of helping businesses to grow. And we've really just had fun over the years. Some are obviously small businesses, but we are very proud to have worked with companies that make billions, multiple billions in terms of annual revenue. This is just to give you a breadth of or an idea of you know, the type of companies we work. And trust me, they all use the tactics equally so, because we are able to take the strategies and tactics, scale them up or scale them down, depending on the clients that we are working with. With that said, I always feel silly asking this question, that who in the room wants to get more customers? And who in the room wants those customers to willingly pay them more and to frequently pay more or buy more from them, right? I'm just going to assume that this is exactly why everybody's in the room. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. The unfortunate reality, though, is many of these companies are failing to attract clients as a result of digital technology that has been really transforming over the years. I mean, it isn't just a thing that happened prior to or immediately prior or immediately after COVID and the pandemic, but it's really something that's been happening over years and years. And unfortunately, most companies don't keep up. And obviously the internet, the speed of internet as well, you know, how quickly it's really evolved over time has enabled solutions and lifestyle changes to really transform at a pace that we've never seen before. And as a result, people's expectations change. And unfortunately, businesses do not adapt accordingly. And, you know, one of the stats that really, you know, just capture me every time I hear it, for example, in e-commerce alone, there has been a 10-year improvement, 10-year growth, a 10-year transformation within a space of a year. So during 2020, you know, the whole industry and related industry evolved, you know, in the same amount of time that it did in the previous 10 years. So you can only imagine what happened last year and what's happening just every day in terms of the evolution, right? It's It's very important, folks, that we keep track of that and we are able to adapt accordingly. Some stats that I know you'll definitely be interested in. As companies and as consumers, are bombarded with advertising information, with newsletters and social media messages. 94% of them will discontinue communicating or receiving information from a company if they find that the information you send them is irrelevant, right? That speaks to knowing where your customers are in terms of their preferences, what they'd like to get done, and how much help they need from a company like yours. Also very important, 74% of people are likely to switch brands if the purchasing process is too difficult, or if you make it difficult for them to buy from you. And unfortunately, at that moment, it's clearly at a critical moment where they are willing to make a purchase. And if you make it difficult for them, guess where they're going? They're going to go to your competitor, right? And then also to know, very important to know, 51% of consumers say will never do business with a company again after one negative experience. Why is this the case? Because consumers, clients know they have massive amount of choices out there. So they can always go to the next company if they feel that you are wasting their time, not taking them serious, or not valuing their wallet, or whatever promise you may have made to them. But on the positive side, though, is that a great majority, at 93%, customers, clients, companies say they are more likely to become a repeat customer with you, with your company, if you provide them with a remarkable service. And folks, that remarkable service does not begin at a point where they make a purchase. It starts all the way when they are looking for information on the internet, when they phone your brick and mortar office, or your virtual office, whatever the case may be. Whenever they need that information, that's where service starts. That's where your brand begins, and that's where branding needs to be taken into consideration. So with that said, there are two very big challenges that your business is currently facing right now. One of them is obscurity. Can anybody tell me what obscurity means? Anyone? What does the word obscurity mean to you? Come on, folks. I know you can hear me. What is the word obscure? Vaguely visible, Tendai. Perfect. Obscurity speaks to not being known, okay? Being inconspicuous or unimportant, or considered not visible, or when you have a message, people are not clear about what it is that you do, and therefore how they stand to benefit. So that is one of your biggest challenges that we need to be able to cut through and to obviously overcome, all right? And the next challenge that you have equally is that of trust. So once they get to know who you are, do they trust you? Business has lost a lot of trust from society and customers in general, especially over the last few years, because clients are becoming so much aware and conscious of really what's happening. They're so much more informed. And so what Zig Ziglar said many, many years ago, I believe, is a quote that is so relevant to today, which is that if people like you, they'll listen to you, but it's only if they trust you that they'll do business with you. And if they don't trust you, they'll make the smallest purchase so that they can test you out. And if you deliver, then they'll do even more business with you. So it's very important that you understand this context, that your marketing and your ability to maintain or retain customers over time is equally important when it comes to obscurity and maintaining the trust over time. And how do you overcome trust? We will go into this a little bit deeper, but the main three steps are: people need to know you. This speaks to obscurity. They want to know who you are. They want to know what you do and why they should care. Folks, do not undermine that first piece, because nobody's going to waste their time trying to find out who you are if they don't feel that it relates to what they need to overcome in their lives, right? Customers will only ever care if whatever it is that you do has something to do with what they are trying to achieve. So that's very important, and it speaks to how you should position yourself. Secondly, once they've heard anything from you, the next immediate question they ask themselves is, do they like you? Do they like what you have to say? And thirdly, lastly, they ask themselves questions about, so are you really an expert in this field? Have you helped others in the past, and how can you specifically help them? So these are three categories of questions that you really need to ask yourselves and be able to answer. over time using your marketing collateral. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you a foundation of what an effective, scalable digital marketing foundation looks like from 2 points. One is from the traditional marketing perspective, secondly, from the digital technology component side. So I'm going to show you a framework that we use, and then we'll stop for a few seconds, answer some questions, and then we move on to the next step. So first and foremost, I spoke about the importance of a value proposition. Can anybody tell me what a value proposition is? So what is a value proposition statement? Tendai, I'm counting on you now. Obviously, and everybody else. Come, folks. What is a value proposition statement? Unique selling point. Okay, I'm gonna talk to that now. What you offer, great. What makes you different from others? Fantastic. Okay. Unique selling proposition is USP. That's great. So here's a dictionary definition of a value proposition. A value proposition is a statement that communicates a bundle of benefits and advantages, okay, that your customers will benefit, will gain from dealing with you, your company, and using your products, okay? So that's what a value proposition for. And thank you for those who spoke about uniqueness. Uniqueness is really the next level. It speaks to, okay, so we have a company like A-Game Business that provides digital marketing services, but we also have another agency, you know, just about around the corner everywhere really on the internet these days. The USP speaks to the question or answers the question around what makes us unique, what makes you unique, okay? So you have a baseline of value proposition that encapsulates your benefits and advantages, how a company will benefit. And then the next level is what makes you unique. Now, some people combine those two and they call it a unique value proposition. I hope that makes sense. Duane, one of our team members, says, what makes a company attractive? Thank you very much, my brother. All right, so with that said, a value proposition is very critical. You know, one of my ex-business partners, and I say ex because we worked together at a particular time, but Alon Reyes will always be somebody that I admire, and he's such a good friend. He's always remained just somebody who supported me in my business over the years. He says, if you do not have a clear and compelling value proposition as a company, then you do not have an economic reason to exist, all right? I'm gonna say it again. If you do not have a clear and compelling value proposition statement, then your business does not have an economic reason, an economic justification to exist. If you don't offer value, nobody's going to want to buy from you, okay? They may buy the first time, but if you don't see anybody coming back, it's predominantly because they probably didn't find enough value in what you offer. So that's very critical. And that speaks to, that will then advise your customer segments and customer personas. What is the difference between a customer segment and a customer persona? Or let me make things a little bit more difficult for you, okay? What is a customer segment? What is a customer profile? And what is a customer segment? You can answer any one of those. Folks, these are critical questions that you need to ask yourself and be able to answer, because they speak to the effectiveness of your digital marketing strategy and your marketing strategy in general. Okay, I can almost see you Googling on your phones. It's fine. That's exactly what you need to do to answer these questions. You need to go out and find this information. So I'm basically, a customer segment will speak to a group, a market that speaks to a group in a particular let me say a group. Okay, sorry, Melissa says customer persona is a detailed profile of a target audience you want to attract. Perfect. So within that group, let's say maybe you say to yourself, you'd like to sell your services to entrepreneurs, okay? Entrepreneurs are business owners. That is a segment, okay? But a persona speaks to somebody like Tendai. Tendai, are you a boy or a girl, if I may ask?
Thanks, KK. I'm very much a man.
Wonderful. So a persona would typically be a fictitious representation that speaks to a male, an African male entrepreneur who's aged between say something like 25 to 35, they earn an amount of 50,000 Rand a month. This is somebody who has a degree or diploma, is married with 2 kids. That is what a persona speaks to. And folks, if you are clear on what that person looks like, you know how to speak to somebody like Tendai, okay? But another persona who may be a 60-year-old that was just recently retired, but as a result of COVID-19 and all of these pandemic effects and lockdown, this person is somebody who needs to come back and work in business to restart their business. You're not going to speak to those 2 people in the same way, okay? That's why it's important that we need to be able to understand and have clarity on who our personas are. Does that make sense? Thank you. Thanks, Melissa. Wonderful. All right. So with all of that said, then you need to define what kind of relationship you're going to have with these people. That speaks to customer relationship building. And then brand tone and personality. I mean, you can hear it in our voice, what kind of a brand personality we have, right? We are really vibey. We are young, or at least we come across as such. You know, we are a little bit more casual. You know, we are creative. We don't sound like a bank. You understand what I'm saying? A bank and certain banks like Nedbank, they're a little bit more serious. So they brand tone, their personality. You know, for example, we were doing a similar webinar yesterday with Menkosa, you know, prestigious educational institution, and the co-presenters and the hosts were wearing suits. And, you know, I felt a little silly, you know, people are wearing ties and I'm wearing what I'm wearing. But to be honest, I wasn't silly because I'm very grounded in who I am and what I do and how I come across as a brand. But you could see that the 2 companies clearly have different brands, even though they are speaking to the same audience, and they want to both support that audience. So it's very clear, or rather you need to be clear on who you are speaking to, how you are building that relationship, and therefore how you are speaking to them, and hence the personality. The next step, and I'm sorry I'm bringing everything all at once, but your next step really speaks to the ecosystem that you are going to use to communicate, to attract, to nurture these relationships, and so on. This starts to speak to what kind of look and feel you need to have from a corporate identity perspective. Okay, your website, your digital home, your digital destination, how does it need to look? What kind of colors will you be using? From a digital presence, where are your customers? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Facebook? Are they on all the above? You need to clearly understand that. And again, going back to what we said about personas and customer segments, it'll then guide you to say, oh, these are the kind of people, the Tendais of this world, you know, this is where they hang out digitally and in person, etc., so that you could know exactly how to go about marketing to them and finding more of those people. And lastly, just when it comes to your ecosystem, how are you going to advertise and promote to them and compel them? And again, this is where your value proposition and the need for its clarity becomes important, because you only get like 1 second, 2 seconds, maybe 5 seconds to actually send out your value proposition and hook somebody in terms of their message. All right, with that said, another piece that is typically forgotten is that centerpiece there in the middle. Those are the 8 steps. The 8 steps are the ones that speak to inbound marketing, and we're going to spend a great majority of today's session really speaking to them. Now, what is inbound marketing? Inbound marketing, I'll give you the definition in the next few slides, but just to give you an idea, it's really a set of systems that are going to enable you to manage your contacts, okay? I'm not going to embarrass you and ask you what system are you using, where are your customers in the context right now, because I know in average business that they are everywhere. They are on our phones, they are in Excel spreadsheets over there. You know, when we go to an exhibition, we put them down in an Excel spreadsheet that's physical somewhere. Sometimes they phone and we put them in our notebooks. So what a CRM system helps you to do is to keep and manage all your contacts in one place, but more importantly, which is that next step, it helps you to nurture them. Because remember, clients are not going to buy from you the first time they hear from you. And you need a system that's going to help automate and make sure that you are efficient and consistent in your ability to deliver on your brand promise, okay? Meaning, if I come to you today and I buy something and I come back in a couple of weeks, I need to be able to experience or have a similar experience, a consistent experience, right? Because that's what I've gotten used to. And that's what I'm going to tell people, hey, if you go to this business or that business, this is how it works. So all of these systems really help you to maintain a consistent brand experience. and more importantly, to integrate to the rest of your ecosystem. Lastly, what I'd like to speak to are the skills and expertise that you need to have. This is a bit of a contentious issue because sometimes you'll hear people say, you don't need to learn everything. You don't need to understand everything. That is all right, but yes, but to some extent, okay? For example, it's important that you know and learn how to productize and package your offerings, okay? You look at what happened when COVID hit, you know, a lot of businesses needed to transition from physical to online, etc. And one of the biggest problems that even to today, most companies are still facing, they are unable to productize, re-innovate their value proposition so that it fits a particular mold, okay? So learning how to productize and repackage, your offerings enable you to be able to switch whenever you need to. That's a skill that you can learn or you need to learn. Copywriting is another one, you know. We're not asking you to become an author of various multiple books. We just need you to understand what it means to write an email, all right? Write an email that's going to convert someone. Many of you are sending out cold emails, which is okay. You are reaching out to cold leads. When you write that script, when you write that email, you need to know the fundamentals of what copywriting entails. Even for purposes of you giving someone a mandate, you know, commissioning someone else to write something for you, you yourself need to know what the basics and the fundamentals of copywriting are so that when you ask somebody else to do something for you, that you have an understanding. And for those who are fortunate enough to have more than one kind of leader, business executive or founder in the business, and you have partners, you can obviously share these skills. You obviously don't need to know everything in your business, but the more you know, the better. So storytelling, where does storytelling come in? What you are hearing today is fairly a story. You need to be able to tell stories in your business. You know, this goes back eons back in time when you used to sit around fires and just sit there and listen to each other's stories that will kind of draw us in. And this is what help us to be able to kind of, to differentiate ourselves in the market. When you're doing something that everybody else is doing, your ability to tell your unique story helps you to kind of elevate yourself head and shoulders above the rest. And sales and selling is still critical. Many business owners think that digital marketing will do everything for you. It won't, right? You'll never need to stop selling. Selling is really the component of the, and you'll see when I give you the 8 steps, it's the steps that enable you to convert all of those leads that become prospects. Those prospects need to become paying customers. And it's really a sales process that will help you to achieve that. Folks, with that said, I'm going to step into the next component. But before I do, let's maybe just take a breather, check if there are any questions. If you have a question or two, please pop it into the chat and I'll do my best to address it before we step into the next segment of the presentation. Does anybody have a question?
Thanks, KK. There's only, so I see Masichaba's got their hand up. You can go ahead and unmute and ask your question. And then there's another question from Rosaria in the chat.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Cool. So my name is Masichaba. Thank you so much for this information. I'm in this conversation in my capacity in the marketing department, and I essentially head up the processes in the marketing department. And I say process because I think strategy as, you know, process and putting in line kind of a step by step, what do we do next? And so I'm interested in, especially from the sales component of the expertise and skills, which I don't necessarily have, but I'm interested in, you know, aligning the marketing process, marketing strategy alongside the sales, you know, process. And currently what we have in place is those two things are not merged. So the sales process is hard calling, emails, reaching out to people, and who those people, if I go back to the customer segments conversation, those are nailed down. We reach out to customer segments through our sales process. Our marketing strategy, however, is reaching out to personas and specific people. And this is a newly developed kind of, I've only been here for 3-4 months. So I'm interested, I hope I'm making sense. I'm interested in.
Yeah, thank you,
Yes.
Thank you. let me take a jab at this. So Tari and the team, maybe this is something else we can do in the future. You know, sales is important in its own right. So I think let's try and make time in the future for a sales specific kind of workshop, kind of webinar. We actually have all of that content ready to go, which is critical. But what Maschaba is speaking about, Maschaba, I believe part of your answer, part of your question is going to be answered with what we're doing in as specifically those 8 steps. So what I'm going to cover next are the different ways. Number one is the foundations we need to have in place. Secondly, the different ways in which we can attract leads, right? Which is somewhat of a sales process, marketing, but it's part of sales as well, where we pull people in. And once they're in, we need to nurture them, speak to them in a way that's going to obviously convert them. Now it's that conversion process that where the sales also kind of kicks in more officially. So part of your question is going to be answered today, but in order to be able to truly integrate sales and marketing in an efficient way, one needs to understand sales in its own right and marketing, and then you'll be able to integrate them in a way that suits your company in a perfect way. Right. So
cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Maschaba. Rosaria also asked, is customer persona and customer profile the same thing? Look, I believe so. I think it's fair to say yes, because it speaks to a profile would really be an individual of some sort. Okay. So Rosaria, I believe you wouldn't be wrong if you said that. The difference speaks to segment, which speaks to a group of people versus a single individual, or at least a fictitious characteristics of a profile or an individual. So with that said, we're going to jump to the next section. Thank you for that. All right. So next speaks to what we'll call your digital doorway. All right. Many of you are very familiar with all of these concepts. I won't spend too much time on this because I want to spend most of our time really focusing on those 8 steps. So what does your digital doorway need to look like? These are the main pillars of your digital and online presence. Your website is very important, okay? What kind of experience do people have on your website? You know, is it mobile optimized? I believe the stats are sitting somewhere between 65 to 75% of internet users, especially in South Africa, are mobile users. And it's actually a kind of an average worldwide. But then interestingly enough, during COVID lockdown, during hard lockdown, at least in 2020, it was sitting at 50-50, where because people were home, people were in front of their computers, they would do a lot more internet browsing and work using their desktops versus when they are mobile and up and down and, up and about, they would be obviously on their phones. But it has been kind of concluded that it's sitting, the great majority is really more on mobile. So your websites have to be mobile optimized. And these days, you don't have to necessarily build a separate website for mobile. The kind of technology, I mean, the WordPresses of this world, whether you're using Wix, Drupal, or any of these content management systems, the themes, most of them at least, they already, what's the word? They adapt, they are responsive, that's the word. They are responsive to whatever device a person is using to look at that, to browse that website. Secondly, this is one of those things that are missing in most websites, which is listings, right? Your company websites and your business information needs to be listed consistently. Your information needs to be consistent across the various places where your information is listed around the company. Obviously, Google Maps and Google My Business Profile kind of comes to mind, but there are hundreds of business listing profiles, listings, directories that are out there that you do need to take full advantage of, because in as much as the Googles of this world are big players in listings and in search engines, there are many other search engines that other people use. I mean, for example, there are countries like China and other places where Google isn't necessarily utilized. So you want to actually make sure that you are listed on those search engines and those business listings. And obviously social media rather, are you just talking at people, or are you having conversations with them and listening to what they're saying and getting feedback that you then utilize and integrate back into your business? Reputation, also very important. Part of the toolkit, it addresses all of the components I've just mentioned, but one of the things that most of our companies, most of our clients really love about the toolkit that we have, the digital marketing toolkit, is that it helps you to manage your reputation, your digital and online reputation. Firstly, by you requesting reviews, and when you get those reviews, whether they're positive or negative, you can address them and actually utilize them. And again, they help really from a listings, from a Google search listings perspective, which I'll touch on next. And then lastly, are you showing up from a search perspective when people, when companies search for the type of service, specifically in your local area, if you are a local business? So I'm just going to go back and touch on some of these issues, some of these components that speaks to the pillars. So Aisha says, we are building an innovative listing directory. Oh, that's wonderful. If anyone wants to see a demo, I would love to see a demo, Aisha. So make sure to get in touch. I'm sure you have my contact details. If not, I will share my screen at the end. So that's fantastic, and congratulations for that. All right, folks, I think we need to all look at that listing because it can really help obviously from a search perspective. So as I mentioned, your website needs to ensure that it has, the correct location from a map perspective, your reputation. So what some companies do is they have their reviews listed on or embedded rather on their websites. Again, the kind of toolkits that we have enable you to do these kind of things, so that when somebody lands on your website, that they can see that there are other human beings that have done business with you, and they actually have good reviews about your service or your products, which convinces many clients to make that purchase. And then next is, we spoke about listings. Listings are critical because they speak a lot to your search engine optimization score, okay? And if they are accurate, they make up what Google calls the Google Magic 3, which is it mobile friendly? Does it have accurate listing, and are there reviews on your website? So do not take this for granted at all. Social, when it comes to social, there are 3 things that you want to make sure that you cover when it comes to social. Customer service, okay? You can really use social media to easily monitor and publish, content, to advertise, and to even fulfill some of your services. I know some companies are doing fantastic work to ensure that they keep people on their social media pages and not leave and go to other digital destinations where, for example, if you are purchasing a digital download, you can download it within your Facebook store and actually utilize it right there and then. And you can obviously use social media to generate leads. I do have one slide that I'm going to show you what we've been able to do with a budget of just under $1,000. You can definitely generate leads. There are actionable tools that you can use there, and really use low dollar kind of advertising to help you generate leads. And lastly, you can obviously build fans, right? Excuse me. It's about making sure that your business profiles on all of these social media profiles and your content is informative and entertaining. I always say edutaining, okay? Because you want to make sure that you are educating clients in the same way that we are hopefully doing that right now during the session. We'd sometimes post some of this content out there. Reputation management, I touched on. There are really 2 pieces that speak to reputation management. One is called customer voices. Customer voice speaks to what clients and customers are saying about you, about the products that they've purchased from you, what the kind of service that they receive from you. And sometimes it isn't clients that have purchased, but actually customers that may have just visited your store, or that may have just seen your social media. If you don't have good, healthy information, they may write a negative review. So it's really important that you have tools that are going to ensure that you are listening out, that you have your ear on what we call the digital ground, so that you can listen out and hear when people are saying things about you. And more importantly, which is reputation management, that you are able to respond at least immediately or close to immediately, so that you can address these issues and not be seen as a company that doesn't pay attention to what customers are saying. Just also in reviews, 85% of consumers will read up to 10 reviews, to learn more about you as a company, to see what kind of company you are. And 74% of customers trust online reviews as much as they trust personal recommendations from friends, from family, from colleagues, and so forth. So reviews are very important. Do not take them lightly. And if you have a Google My Business profile, it's as easy as asking somebody to go to your Google Business My profile, asking them to create a 4 or 5 star review, and you automatically get those responses. You know, again, with our toolkit, all of this becomes very seamless. You can automate it. You know, you can import a list of customers, send them out those requests for reviews. When they come in, you get notifications and you are able to respond immediately. It's one of the easiest things to do. You can get one of your juniors to do it, or, you know, even when you're on a break, if you have a small team and you kind of have to manage all of these things, you don't have to crack your head managing this, especially when you have the right tools. So we always say, you know, publicly promote the positive and privately respond to the negative. And how we do this sometimes is when we send out a request for reviews, we'll give people 2 actions, okay? If you have a positive, something positive to say about us, click on this button. And if you have had a negative experience, please contact us so that we know and it doesn't necessarily go online. So there was also a Harvard study that said that for every 1 star increase in your reputation or listings, there's a 5 to 9% increase in business. And we've seen this work, folks. You know, the minute more people are able to see what kind of company you are, the kind of work you put out there, the more they are willing to do business with you. And when it comes to search engine marketing, this really refers to all the marketing tactics that are used to ensure your business can be discovered online, you know, whether it's on Google, Bing, Yahoo, and all of those other listings that I spoke about. So Aisha will definitely be contacting you, and who knows, maybe, you know, we can speak to some of our clients about getting their businesses listed as well. So once again, congratulations for that. And then speaking about the toolkit, we have a digital marketing and business online toolkit that kind of covers quite a wide range of what we spoke about. The initial baseline of the application covers these categories that you're seeing now on the screen. So e-commerce, having a website online, being able to do customer communication from a CRM and marketing automation perspective, et cetera, et cetera. And we have over 150 apps that one can use. Some of them includes productivity apps. So I know there's a group that's going to be fortunate enough to get a toolkit from us. Tari, is there anything you'd like to say at this point? Maybe speak to the group about, as you said, I know there's a survey that you're going to send out at some point.
Yes, we will. So I can mention it here. So KK has graciously offered 10 toolkits to any one of our attendees here, who and basically what this is, it's a one-on-one look at your business using these toolkits specific for your business. So what will happen is one of my colleagues will send out, you know, a post masterclass email, and in there will be a link for a survey. And then in there as well, if you'd like a toolkit, just a few questions that you need to answer. And then also as part of that, you would also need to then generate the report. I posted a link in the chat. I'll post it again now. It'll also be included in the email. And then we'll then go through that together with KK and then notify the 10 who are then selected to go through this journey with KK, and it will run over 6 months. So, but if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat.
Wonderful, thank you. And as I said, thanks, Tari. As I said, I've got some of my team members here with us that are here to kind of get a feel of the group, and then we'll get an opportunity to work with you one-on-one every week, you know, where we're sharing strategies with you. We will be coaching and showing you exactly which tool to use when, how to take your strategy, refine your value proposition statement, and really integrate it across your entire digital marketing foundation, which includes all of those pillars that we're touching. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you exactly how to integrate the 8 steps, which is something that I'm going to go into next. All right, so I think somebody was saying something. Let me just quickly take a look. All right, Jayshree says that's great. Tendai, will there be an exception for most participating entrepreneurs on the call? This is really for, you know, for Tech Tribe to address. I'm going to remove myself from that. But for those who are unfortunately don't get the toolkit, we are, as a business, we can always, you know, take the conversation offline. So all of you will at least get to do the digital marketing performance report that shows how your business is performing online. And then we can take conversations from there. Okay. All right. So also something else, whether you're working with us or not, it's very important that you have what we call proof of performance. Proof of performance is many businesses are out there doing things on social media. They've got stuff happening on their website. Sometimes they host events, but they don't necessarily have an aggregated or a consolidated way to report on how all their efforts are performing. Because if you don't see or know how well you're performing, then you don't know where to improve. Okay, it's really like driving or rather flying a plane with no cockpit, meaning you don't know how high you're flying, you don't know how much fuel you have left, and so forth. So that can really be dangerous to a business. Make sure that you have proof of performance. Again, whether you're working with us, whether you're using our toolkit or not, whether you have an existing agency or not, make sure that you know exactly what's happening in your business, because the beauty of digital is that things are so connected that instantly you are able to see results. So what we're going to do next is jump into this part of the conversation. And maybe what I need to do at this stage, let me go back. Let me just say, are there any questions based on anything that we've covered so far? Are there any niggling things that concern you, anything that you may not be familiar with that you didn't understand based on what we covered? All right, I'm going to take that as a no, and we're going to move on. So folks, as Tari said, there was a bit of miscommunication around the length of the webinar. But if you do have to jump off at 12, we do understand. But if you do get to stay, do stay with us. I'm going to do my best to maybe cover the remainder of the slides in the next 10 minutes, but please don't hold me to it, because there's quite a bit of information across the next steps. And they won't be at their most detailed because each pillar, each step takes some time to kind of go through, but I promise you the latest to cover everything will probably be until 5 past or 10 past, latest at 12. But again, we do understand if you've only allocated yourself an hour. So next is these 8 steps of inbound marketing automation, or what we call digital marketing success. So what we've done is we took the inbound framework, which is really made up of 3 steps. We did this about 8 years ago when we realized, hey, these 8 steps aren't really detailed for the average entrepreneur, the average business person and marketing team that needs the detail. And so what we did is we broke it down and say, hey, this can truly happen over 8 steps. And if you look at the bottom of this diagram, you'll see that some of these steps really help you to cross that know, like, trust bridge that we spoke about earlier. And then the rest of it really speaks to doing business. And Masichaba, going back to the question you asked, you'll see that it's when you come to the steps, the propose, close, and collect steps. Those are really speak to selling, okay? Meaning converting a prospect into a paying customer, and making things easy for that paying customer to make the payment, and obviously to receive whatever promise that was made to them. So I'm going to cover as much as possible within the time we have on each one of these steps. All right, so what is inbound marketing? Remember, we spoke about digital marketing. Inbound marketing is another component of digital marketing, but they need to be seen as 2 separate things because they are separate. Digital marketing is all the things that I covered up to this point. And then the question is, what do you do when you've marketed yourself? Okay, which is where a lot of companies actually struggle. Many of them, and this is part of what makes our business different, is many of them are spending monies, they're spending hard-earned dollars on advertising, on digital agencies. The leads come in, but they fall through the cracks. Some don't even reach, the business. So what I'm going to share with you is, how do you actually boost and optimize the performance of your digital marketing so that you minimize the number of leads that fall through the cracks, and those that are then converted from traffic into leads. How do you convert those into prospects? Because you need to qualify them. And after that, how do you convert them into paying customers? And lastly, once they are paying customers, how do you keep them coming back? All right. So what is inbound marketing? Inbound marketing is really about how, not just marketing, but how your entire company, including marketing, including sales, including operations, including client fulfillment, or sometimes called as service, even finance, right? R&D, and all of these departments, how they need to work together in order to do three main things, okay? Which goes back to the traditional inbound marketing steps. Number one is to attract. Number two is to engage those leads. And lastly, to delight and wow the customer as a way to grow the business that provides value and builds trust that we spoke about earlier. So the marketing campaigns or inbound marketing campaigns really focuses on initiatives and efforts that are concentrated at aligning all of your marketing channels around specific campaigns, around educating, entertaining your prospects and existing customers about how they can go about solving their problems. Remember, clients are not coming to you just for the fun of it. They've got challenges, they've got opportunities that they want to exploit and challenges that they want to overcome, obviously. So now inbound marketing is about ensuring that you inform them and you educate them how to go about solving those problems. Here's a perfect example. I hope it's perfect. This webinar today is really an example of what inbound marketing is. So Tech Tribe and ourselves are really applying this methodology by providing you this educational content in the hope that you become a customer. That's really what inbound marketing is. And it really needs to be information that speaks to the customer, that the customer finds valuable, that the customer can use, whether they continue working with you or not, but at least that experience that they've had is they've had a positive experience. They feel that you are helping them towards solving their problem. So that's what inbound marketing entails. But then there are a few more steps that I'm going to cover, starting with entice, right? Folks, I'm sure you know this. Going back to what we said around clients using the internet to really find information whenever they need it. When a customer, a client, or prospect becomes aware of a problem they have, the first thing they'll do is I don't even know if they'll ask someone first versus jumping on Google and actually doing a search. And also, you'll be surprised that there's a great majority of people who use social media to search for information around problems that they're trying to solve. So make sure that whatever content you're putting on social media is also educational, useful information that clients can use to address some of those questions. So at the point where they are still looking for information, they'll do a lot of research. And by the time they come to you and your business, they are 65 to 90% ready to make a purchase. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that they come to you as well prior to this step. While they are looking for information, you want to be there, to grab them and really entice them in a way that they see you as a company that they can ask these relevant questions while they are in the process of making a purchase. How do you entice leads? You use something called a lead magnet. Okay, what is a lead magnet? Maybe let me pose that question to you folks. What do you understand to be a lead magnet? What do you understand to be a lead magnet? My colleague Dylan says, "You are so kind, my brother." He sent me the message privately. He says, inbound is also about engaging with your customers in a meaningful way. Old school was transactional marketing. And now inbound marketing is really about value for value. Dylan, thank you for that. Folks, what do you understand to be a lead magnet? All right, not something that attracts and keeps leads. Namlev, thank you. So a lead magnet is content that is considered to be, perceived as high value to someone. Sorry, let me just, before I continue, let me see if somebody's commented. Dylan says content which attracts and engages. Perfect, thanks bro. Lead magnet is content that is perceived to be of high value, okay? Tendai says it can be a specific target adverts. Of course, 100%. It's really something that is perceived to be of high value that prospects can use to solve a particular problem. For example, this webinar is something that is perceived to be of high value and can help somebody solve a particular problem. And you've seen many examples. You download PDFs, you go into trials and of software trials, you'll check something for 14 days or for 30 days, whatever that looks like. But here's the context, all right? A lead magnet is that it's something that your prospect would typically be interested in getting from you in the hope that it'll educate them towards a buying decision. This content is typically free, and I always say inverted commas because they get it in exchange for their contact details, right? That's what they give you in exchange, and you give them the lead magnet. This is so that you can follow up with them and nurture that relationship. Remember, if somebody comes into your store or just comes into your website, they look around, they poke around, and then they leave, where do you think they're going? They're obviously going to your competition, all right? And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are able to follow up with them, answer as many of the questions that they have. If you don't, at that point in your competition does, then you're doing all the hard work. You're doing all the information, but you're unable to nurture them over time. Okay, so make sure that you have a lead magnet that does what we call signing up, which is the next step. And really a lead magnet provides your prospects with free, valuable, and educational content that helps them to solve one or more problems as remember, as they are pursuing or approaching that buying decision that they are going to make. Examples of lead magnets include ebooks. Some people provide free coaching or free consultations sessions. Webinars is definitely one of them, 30-day trials, whatever that looks like. I'm going to share another slide with some examples. So Air Fashion, one of our fashion clients, we actually have such an amazing portfolio of fashion clients. One of them is Air Sangores, whom we are very proud to be working with. And recently, there's Nguni Brands from Durban. We are so excited to be working with Nguni Brands, who've just joined us. They've also, taken up a toolkit. We're very excited about that. So we'll share all of the success stories as we progress. But Air Fashion, some years ago, we helped them develop a lead magnet about the seven keys to power dressing. So they sell fashion, and you might think, oh, lead magnets can't work in my industry. We can always find a way to help you develop one. So as people, one of the value proposition we help them develop is they help women to gain a sense of power in the way they dress. And as a sense, so from that, we were able to help them build and put together a lead magnet, which was a 5-page document that shows how you can power dress using clothes that you already have. But if you want to buy additional clothing that will help you, obviously Air Fashion was there to serve you. You've probably fallen for this one as well, which is Netflix, the free trial. I know I did, and I'm not embarrassed, okay? It was actually when they put out one for about 3 months, and I've never looked back. Lead magnets work, folks. Also, another one that I really like is Vespa. Vespa will give you a free lesson, okay, to learn how to ride a Vespa. And guess where you're going to go when you need to buy a scooter? They'll obviously teach you a lot more things up to the point when you're ready to purchase. But these are just some of the examples around lead magnets, and any company can really come up with one. Step number 2, you want to sign people up, okay? If you look at all of these lead magnets, they have some sort of a form that people need to fill in order to get the prospect's contact details. Folks, there's a reason why that happens. It's so that you can follow up with these people afterwards, so that you can qualify them and see if they are likely to become a customer. And how do you do it? You use online forms, landing pages, websites. You can even use your notebook, okay? You can use your phone. If you're out there, you're speaking to people, you're at a networking session, you don't have business cards, which you don't necessarily need these days. You can just jump on your phone, put in those contact details, but make sure that you follow up with them afterwards. So there are various ways. And obviously, if you have the right tools, it's a lot more efficient. It's a lot more effective. As soon as somebody gives you those details, they quickly get follow-up emails afterwards. Tari, can we do a just quick check-in to see how many people will remain with us? Again, just to apologize for not having given, I know it comes from all of us that we were not able to give everybody the correct timing on this. Tendai says he unfortunately also has to jump off. And folks, again, we do understand this is being recorded, so it will be shared with those who can't make it afterwards, but it's obviously not the same when you are here. Tari, is that fine with you? Can we continue? Or is there anything else you want to add?
No, we can go ahead.
Thank you. Great. So how is Poppy incorporated at the sign-up stage? Very good question, actually. Dylan says he needs to also jump off. Thank you, Dylan. We'll always obviously catch up. Mthengi, thank you. Mthengi is a new client. He's got such an interesting business. So today is his first day where I told him about the webinar, and I was like, hey, brother, join us. So he's here. So really appreciate it. Morena, we appreciate everyone. Jayshree, thank you. You'll stick around. We appreciate that. So somebody asked a question about how is Poppy incorporated. So Poppy Act does not mean that you shouldn't ask people for their contact details. It means when you have their contact details, make sure that it's not only relevant information, but that you've gotten it legally and ethically, that someone has agreed to give you that information. And when they've given you that information, that you should actually keep that information safely for a certain period of time, meaning if you're not using that information up to, I believe it's a year, maybe 2 years, I stand to be corrected, that you do need to delete it, okay? Poppy also speaks to the fact that you can't go around asking people to give you databases so that you can contact them, okay? That's not right. Clients and prospects need to willingly give you their contact information. And also speaking about Poppy Act and lead magnets and signing people up, you don't want to ask for unnecessary information. Meaning if I'm merely downloading a PDF from your website, don't ask me for my phone number. You don't need my phone number at that moment. You know, a phone number or a physical address you could maybe need if you need to deliver the lead magnet. There are some people that are doing amazing lead magnets out there. You know, for example, maybe somebody needs to come and do something in your house as a freebie. Maybe they need to come and measure, you know, the space so that they can give you design, interior design, free design advice and so forth. So again, only ask for information that is relevant. Okay. Sorry, is it Mahlon? I said, I will still be glued to this. I love this. You'll still be glued, you mean? Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for that feedback. It's wonderful. So sweet. Much appreciated. All right. So there are various ways that you can sign people up. You want to keep those contact details. If you do not have them, you're not going to be able to follow up with them. Okay. I think the point's been made there. All right. So remember I said there was a point not too long ago, and you'll see the dates, actually, the timestamps on these. This was one of those webinars that we hosted internally. If I look around here, I should be able to see the date over here, the 5th of October last year. You know, for something like 750, maybe 900 Rand. Okay, we put up an ad on Facebook, and we were able to get these numbers. So if you do it right, you can actually achieve quite good results with very little budgets. Meaning we were able to get 85 people to register for the webinar, and we were able to convert a few of them. Again, this is really about using a lead magnet in order to drive traffic and to generate those leads and take those leads and convert them into prospects, okay? It can be done with nominal budgets as long as you have the right systems in place. Step number 3, you want to nurture them. Okay, now you have leads. So what you're going to do with them? You need to follow up, okay? If I ask you now, who do you remember the most in your life? It'll obviously be people who are phoning you when you're not feeling well. They'll check up on you, you know, people who really care, who are genuine, who are friends. These are people who nurture the relationship. Who do you forget? Those who are nowhere near, you know, taking care and nurturing that relationship. What you want to do when you nurture, people will have questions. You know, we don't expect 1-hour webinars or a flimsy ebook or a short ebook to answer all the questions. And again, maybe that's part of the tricks that are used out there, and it's okay. It's not unethical. You know, you're not expected to write a 1,000-page document that answers every question. A 5-pager will do to start the conversation, show the client that you are an expert in a particular field. When they have questions, give them your phone number or send you an email when they have questions. And you want to continue providing that additional value and engaging content. Folks, trust me, it doesn't matter what type of business you are in. This can work for you, and it needs to be part of the framework in your digital marketing and inbound marketing. If you're not doing it, trust me, your competitors are doing it out there. You will do all the hard work to attract clients, but your competitors will end up with those customers because they're the ones that are top of mind whenever the client is ready to make a purchase. So this is why we nurture those relationships. And another, something else you want to be just aware of, okay? If you look at these stats, only 2% of people will buy from you first time they hear about you and your business. That last line, 81% of sales happen only after the 7th call, right? So Maschaba, if you go back to the question you asked, part of selling is nurturing as well. This is where the marketing and sales kind of overlap, where you are nurturing this relationship, and you can easily call it marketing, right? this is where the dating and the courting kind of happens. These are those coffee, those coffee dates, those dinners, right? Before the the big events like marriage and et cetera, et cetera. You want to court, you want to nurture this relationship. Hopefully you'll continue to do those nice things even after they've become a client of yours as well, right? The unfortunate reality is, if you look at the contrasting stats on the next slide, on the next column rather, is that 48% of businesses, folks, this speaks to you. Many of you, nearly half of you, you quit after speaking to a client one time. And I know a big part of the reason is because you don't necessarily have their contact details. Whenever anybody is inquiring, whether on the phone or they walk into your store or they call you, whatever the case is, make sure that you obviously get their permission to get their contact details in exchange for a lead magnet in some instances, so that you can follow up with them. Because it's only 10% who quit after the 7th call. Do you see why most businesses are really wasting their hot leads? You have these people coming in, you need to have an infrastructure in place that's going to help you to nurture those leads. And why do you need to follow up so much, up to 7 times and sometimes more? It's because your leads are busy. I mean, between you and I, the amount of following up that I needed to do with the team at Tech Tribe and South African Innovation Summit, right? This is how it works. You have to, because people are busy, the teams are busy, they're looking after their clients, they've got lives to live, we've got pandemics that we're dealing with. And so it's really up to you to do the selling, to do the nurturing, okay? You're the one that wants them as a client, so you need to constantly do that. And lastly, your nurturing and response time needs to be very quick, because if you look at the stats on the slide right now, it says if somebody is attending or sending out some communication, especially if they're looking for information, if you do not respond within 5 minutes, the likelihood of them continuing to want to do business with you drops by up to 10 times. How you like that, right? I know none of us like that. So it's very important that you put infrastructure in place that are going to help you to do that. If you don't nurture, you lose even more leads. You aren't able to close them at the end of your sales funnel. So all of these processes that we're speaking about, these steps, will enable you to close a lot more of your leads. All right, following up includes creating valuable content, automating your responses. Like I said, Masichaba spoke about marketing and sales. We are going to continue offering valuable content. We're going to come back and give you maybe a sales webinar or another one that's going to help you even more. So it's really about creating content. And folks, I have to tell you, when you love what you do, you value the people that you do this for, and you don't complain or see it as things you don't have to do. You see it as part of serving your community and serving your customers. So we love creating content with the intention to help our people to succeed. That is really why we are in business. And you want to implement those mechanisms that will help you respond immediately. And for those of you who will, if not all of you, at least those who will sign up for that digital marketing report, you will see that over time, you'll be getting emails, okay? And we don't mind if people unsubscribe for our emails. We know it may not be relevant to you, but I'm hoping that you'll stick around and that you'll see how all of that information works, because it speaks to what we are covering here. And feel free to replicate what you are seeing for your own benefit, for your own business. And if you need help, you'll obviously have our contact details in there, and we'll definitely help you with this. And obviously those who are going to win that toolkit will have the pleasure and privilege of having us support them over the next 6 months to build their pipelines and infrastructure. And lastly, just around nurturing, systems will help you to show you which lead is more critical that you should reach out to, right? Because some are kind of still poking around. They're going to take years maybe to buy from you, but those who are ready, the systems will be able to show you. And obviously automation will help you to get more done. You'll be able to engage more customers. It'll show you how to reduce the cost of communicating with existing and potential clients. All of these steps help you to cover and to cross that know, like, trust bridge that we touched on earlier. And there are systems, many of them out there. Some are great, some are crappy, some kind of somewhere in between. And so if you are going to choose a system, make sure that you speak to an expert. We are always here to kind of help you address those problems. I mean, there are systems like Infusionsoft and Maximizer that we started out with many years ago, like over a decade ago. So, and we don't necessarily use them anymore, but we still keep up to date in terms of which ones a certain type of business or a certain size of business can use. So feel free to reach out. We'd be more than happy to help you address those questions. Step number 4 is propose, okay? Nobody's going to marry you unless you propose them. No client is going to buy from you unless you do a good job of nurturing and actually putting an offer on the table, all right? So depending on what the client's pain points are, because some of you in the room don't necessarily have the same problems. For example, some of you have an agency that you are using. Maybe the problem is your clients are not converting, or the leads that are coming in are not converting. Some of you are completely starting from scratch, right? And some of you have certain issues in certain areas. So depending on the pain points that you are feeling, we can't just offer you everything, okay? We have to look at what your problems, your challenges are, and more so opportunities. Maybe you have more opportunities than you have challenges, and it's really about you as a company addressing the customer, the prospect's issues or needs according to what you are able to offer. And you need to make that offer, right? You're the one that needs to make the proposal. One of the ways to do it, Masachaba, again, this goes back to you, and I'm sorry I'm picking on you. This goes back to part of the sales process. You don't, especially if you sell high ticket items or expensive items, part of what you want to do is not to sell big items all at once in the first instance when you get an opportunity to propose. You want to sell what we call a tripwire, right? A tripwire is a low dollar offer that is maybe of a limited time. You'll kind of put an offer to say, hey, maybe for the next 2 days, if you buy this thing, we'll give it to you at half price or whatever the case may be. A tripwire is also a product that is specifically designed to just convert someone from a lead into a client as soon as possible without you necessarily making a profit. Because what is its purpose? Its purpose is to create what's called a micro commitment, right? Meaning, let's say, for example, Tech Tribe has a massive course that's worth 25, 35,000 Rand that they want to sell you, okay? In their instance, what they could do, a tripwire would be to sell you a 2-day workshop, okay, as a start. Maybe that costs 2,000 Rand, and maybe it's a virtual online kind of setup, okay, with the intention that once you've purchased it as a low commitment, then once you become used to buying from them and they deliver and you trust them, then they can convert you to a much bigger and more expensive item. You can use the same. That's what a tripwire is used for, right? So some of our tripwires are books. A lead magnet would be a webinar, or it would be a PDF of some sort that you download. And then a tripwire, we sell like books for like $50, okay? That helps us to kind of gain the trust of our clients. That's what a tripwire is, and it's something you can use in your case, okay? It's about getting the clients to initially make a small commitment of some sort, not to scare them off with a big purchase, at least not yet. So going back to what Ms. Chaba said from a sales process, again, these are those overlaps from marketing and sales. You want to do this in a way that is consistent, that is automated. Again, if you use the right systems, you can get away with so much without having to do it manually. Again, when it comes to selling, you need to close a customer. You need to close the deal. Now, what is closing? Closing, just like we do in the 8-step sales process that I mentioned that we have, and we can maybe set up another webinar in the future. It's really about making sure that you've covered the client's what we call potential objections. Objections are concerns that the client may have to say, "Ooh, I'm not so sure if I want to buy this thing." There are other ways to do it. You can show them those reviews we spoke about earlier, client testimonials, to say, "Hey, some clients have purchased from us. This is what they've said about the experience that they've had with us. Those help." And they really, closing is really a proactive way to get the client to give you the money. We call it asking for the money. You have to ask for the money and make sure that the transaction does actually take place. All right. Next, one of the opening slides I had is you have to make it easy for yourself to collect the money from clients. So making sure you've got the right payment gateways in place, that everybody in the business understands that if a client, is ready to make a purchase, they either click on some sort of a link, or you invoice them, or you quote them first, send them the quote. And then maybe if it's big companies, they need to be a purchase order of some sort. Once you get that purchase order, then you invoice them. And once you invoice them, you expect the payment. Everybody in the business needs to know what that purchasing process looks like, okay? So that you can easily collect the money. All right, I know somebody just texted. I'm just gonna quickly take a look. Melissa, all right, needs to drop off. Thank you, I appreciate you for having stayed this long. And I'm sure the recording will be shared with you. And thanks again to everybody. There's such a big number of people who stayed. I really appreciate it. We're not gonna go on for much longer. You want to make sure that you're able to collect the money, as we said, and deliver. You want to make sure that you wow and delight the customer. All right. This is where many companies drop off. And it's also one of the easiest way to wow and wow and delight your customers, because so many businesses don't do it. The experience that we like to share here to give you an idea of how you can wow and cheaply and cost effectively delight your customers. For those who've been to Mount Sheba in Mpumalanga, they have an amazing hotel up in the mountains. And when you drive up there, the area sometimes is muddy, it's very dusty. When you get up there, you're so annoyed with your car, how dirty it is. And then in the morning, when you get up, your car is nicely cleaned and washed. I've told so many people about the story, and this is exactly what delighting customers will enable you to do. It'll help you to give people a story that they share on and on about how you've delighted them. And don't just stop there with that first experience. Continue to do so. All right, sorry, I'm just letting my child in who's getting dropped off. So sorry about that. All right, so last step, folks. Last step, I promise. This is surveying. You don't just give people your products and services and they go away. You want to ensure that people are happy. All right. You can use a Net Promoter Score, or you can simply pick up the phone and phone a client to say, hey, Mr. or Miss Client, you know the thing that you purchased from us, how did it go? If they're unhappy, make sure that they convert into a happy client. All right. And if they're happy, you do the next thing. Okay. And the next thing up the ladder is, Mr. or Miss Client, would you be happy to give us a positive testimonial or a review based on your experience? When they agree, you send them the links, you do what needs to be done in order to get the testimonial. And then you based on what you've experienced with them, maybe you've got other things that you can sell them. So use this opportunity to upsell. Mr. Miss Client, based on what we've done for you, is there anything else we can do? We also have X and Y that you could use to actually take the results that we've helped you to achieve to the next level. And whether they buy from you or not, ask them, do they know other people that could benefit from the kind of service or products that you provided to them? Ask them, folks. You are not going to get referrals if you don't ask. There's no magic formula behind it. The only thing I would say is make sure that it's part of your automated sales process so that you don't have to crack your brain needing to remember all of these things, right? As Maschaba said, there's a process in place. Maschaba, make sure that you put all of these things in place, and more importantly, that you automate it in such a way that the systems can help you to cover more of what you maybe don't enjoy doing so much, all the mundane stuff, all the manual stuff. Automate as much as possible with the intention that you obviously exploit all the opportunities you have, and very few, if any, will ever fall through the cracks. Folks, I promise you, I'm done. As we said, you've been sent a link. This link you can use to generate this snapshot report that's going to show you how well or not so well your business is performing online in about 5 to 7 areas. So search engine optimization, how fast your website is it mobile friendly? Your business listings, are you listed in the right places? How well your social media is doing, and in terms of advertising and so forth. So this is just courtesy, is part of what we give away to our customers and prospects. So feel free to, there's no obligation. Take the opportunity to generate the report. And as I said, following that, you will see the emails that come up, and feel free to copy and paste, or rather to borrow and, let me put it out, steal those ideas, because that's why we're in business. We're here to share those ideas with you, folks. And with that said, I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for everybody who stayed behind and everybody who's attended. My contact details are on the screen. I know that the team at Tech Tribe will send you that information. Tari and the team, thank you. That's it from me. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to take them. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much, KK. I know for myself, I learned a lot and I was like thinking, and I was like, yeah, we need to have like a brainstorm about some of, some of the things and how we sell, some of the Tech Tribe products. So I think I know my team is really, really excited, and I know Tendai as well. I'm sure his head is also reeling. So I think it's very, very excited about next steps and very excited about this session. It's been very, very valuable, and I think it's been valuable for everybody. So thank you very much. So Jayshree's got her hand up. She's got a question. Jayshree, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask the question.
All right. Thank you. That was really, really informative. Just to ask, we've got a business, but we are physiotherapists as well. So for healthcare professionals, it's a bit different. We have to go about listening to the rules and regulations of the Health Professional Council. So we're not allowed to tout. We're not allowed to say, you know what, come in, you'll get a free 5-minute massage. So there must be another way to be able to generate leads. The thing also is we first line, practitioners. So we don't necessarily need doctors to refer patients to us. So we definitely need more patients, but how can we do that? And I would definitely like to know more about that.
Okay, wonderful. And I'm literally thinking, I'm not going to say on my feet because I'm sitting. I'm really thinking as as you are saying this. Jayshree, it is said that sitting is the new smoking. Do you agree?
Yep.
What is the extent of damage that we are doing to our bodies by sitting 24/7 on these seats, right? Now, you can use lead magnets that show people the dangers of sitting the entire time, how to sit properly. There's a leaflet somewhere that I have that reminds me of how to sit straight, okay? You could do like an infographic that says, hey, just remember every time you're sitting, every hour, make sure you stand up, whether you're going to make yourself a cup of coffee, go downstairs or go wherever, stretch your legs. And when you do come back, try and work for the next hour while you're standing up, right? And these are the 5 other tips that you can use in order to make sure that you don't sit yourself to death, that you don't break your back or you don't do this or that. Now, there are so many different things that you could do, and you could use those as PDFs to say, hey, here it is, download it. It's a 5-pager, it's free. All you need to do is just plug in your name and your email address, and Bob's your uncle will send you that PDF, and you can do more of that. There's so much content around your profession that you could share as information, and then you don't come across as a sleazy salesperson always trying to just sell people, things that they're not ready to purchase. I mean, I hope that helps.
That does help. We actually call those little movements during the day movement snacks.
Oh, nice. Nice. I like that.
All right. Thank you. But yeah, we definitely like to know more about, the healthcare professional, how to get. So yeah, thanks. That's
100%
information.
It'll be our pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jayshree, for your question. Is there anyone else with a question? You're welcome to pop it into the chat or raise your hand. I know we have gone over quite a bit, so we can have 1 or 2 more questions. And apologies for taking up another 26 minutes of your time. But I hope it has that extra 26 minutes has been valuable. I know it has been. I've got a comment here from Mutabi, and she says thought leadership is definitely a great way to fund solutions without hard selling. An awesome lead magnet can also be something like regular blog posts or newsletters too. Yeah, great. Definitely.
And Mutabi is one of our team members.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Just so saying. She knows.
Just say.
So she definitely knows.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for that comment, Mutabi. Rosario, please go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tari. Thank you, KK. I found this session very, very informative.
Excellent.
So from
excellent.
my side, I'm doing basically most of the stuff myself. I'm an aspiring public speaking coach. I'm offering basically like coaching and training and mentoring for people to gain their confidence in public speaking. So I'm obviously coming from a very low base in terms of, not a lot of clients, people don't know me, how commendable am I? So I'm looking at this 8-step marketing automation method. Is it more for established brands, people that already have a market, or can I already still, as almost a startup in this coaching business, be able to still use these? Because I'm looking at this, I'm like, no, maybe this is like totally not for me.
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Rosario. So to answer your question, every business needs to do this, right? You need to attract customers, right? You need to attract leads into the business. You need to have their contact details so you can follow up with them. You need to nurture those relationships because many of them are not going to buy from you the first time. You need to be able to close, sell them. And when they've purchased from you, you need to ensure that you deliver a delightful experience so that they feel like you're the best person for them to have purchased that product or service from. And you need to make sure you check in that they're happy or not. Now, all of that are really steps that every business needs to be able to fulfill, regardless of the size, regardless of what industry. So to answer your question, I know it seems overwhelming, but trust me, there's a way to take each step and do one thing for every little step. And we can definitely help you with that. So, and thank you for the question. You don't need every other step. You can start with one lead magnet. I can imagine, I know that Brian Tracy has, 5 things you must make sure you have, I think, in your speech or something.
Yeah.
You could do something similar as a lead magnet. It could be a one-pager that just lists those 5 things as categories, and you fill a bit of meat in each one. It could be a one-pager. It could be anything. It could be you doing a video that coaches people for 5-10 minutes to say, hey, folks, these are 3 things you must make sure that you are great at doing when you speak. And if you listen to me, I have so much to learn as well about public speaking. So if you've got information to share with me, please feel free to do that. we can kind of do some sort of an exchange, and we can help you build a lead magnet of some sort and put processes in place. But go through the application and fill in those surveys that the team at Tech Tribe are going to send out, and who knows, maybe you might be part of that, part of those entrepreneurs that we are going to be working with over the next 6 months.
Awesome. Thank you so much, KK.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Rosario, for your question. And again, thank you so much, KK and your team, for hosting the session for us. Like I said, definitely learned a lot. So please, guys, if you want to go through the 8 steps and and build those toolkits. So 2 things: keep an eye out for an email from Lindy Nkosi. She'll have all of the details in there. And remember to also complete the free digital marketing report as well. And then we will let you know in the coming week who will then be going through the 6-month process with KK. And so I won't again keep you any longer. So thank you very much. And also some news: KK will be at the upcoming SA Innovation Summit in September. So if you want to learn more, you know where to find him. He will be at the summit, so be sure to get your ticket. They are online and in-person tickets, and I think currently we are on early bird sale, so you still have time to get some your tickets there. And that's running till June. So that is it from me. As always, I've been your host, Tarisiro. Thank you to KK, and thank you to our attendees for sticking around and for joining us today. I really hope that you learned a lot. We will share the recording with you all once that is ready, and you can go through all of that again. And we'll also share KK's details if you have any questions from him, and want to work with him and his team, specifically for your business. But that is it. Have a good afternoon, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.